Hello everybody, this is Coach Shafto. Today we are learning how to calculate the area of triangles. Before we get started, let's do a quick review. Here's a review of the area of a rectangle, the area of a trapezoid, the area of a parallelogram, and the area of a triangle. What I want you to notice is that when calculating the area of a triangle, the base and the height are connected by the right angle symbol. You also notice that a triangle is either half of a rectangle, we just take the rectangle and cut it in half, or it can be half of a parallelogram. So this one is half of a parallelogram because we take the parallelogram and we cut it in half. And so we basically have base times height divided by 2, or in this orange right here, it's 1/2 of the base times the height. For this assignment, your goal is to get to 70, and as a challenge, you can go to 100. In the first question, it says, what is the area? And it gives us a base and a height. So if we go and remember what our formula was, so I'm going to go back here. Our formula here is 1/2 times the base times the height. So I've got 1/2 times the base times the height. So in this case, I have 1/2 times the base is going to be 9, and the height is going to be 6. So if I take this 9 times 6, I'm going to go ahead and do half of 6 to begin with. So if I take half of 6, this is going to give me 3. And then 9 times 3 is 27 inches squared. The next problem, it says, what is the area? And so we've got 1/2 of the base times the height, which is 1/2 times 5 times 10. I'm going to go ahead and take half of 10, since that's an even number, and half of 10 is 5. So now I have 5 times 5 is 25 centimeters squared. And it's squared because we're in 2 dimensions and we're calculating area. If we go to some of the harder problems, here, the right angle is in the middle, but we're still doing the same thing. So I'm going to take 1/2 of 17 times 20. And here I'm going to take half of 20, since that's an even number, and that's going to give me 17 times 10. And 17 times 10 is 170 miles squared. If we get even harder, on the next level, it says, what's the area? And this is the same problem we just did, except instead of 20, it's going to be 10. So I've got 1/2, 17, and 10. If I take half of 10, that's going to be 5. So I've got 17 times 5. And I like to break this up. I know that 5 times 10 is going to be 50, and 5 times 7 is 35. So this is going to be 85 millimeters squared. Here, it's getting a little bit more challenging because it tells me what the area is. So we're going to have to do some algebra. So I've got 1/2 times 8 times, here's a y as my base, is equal to 48. So I'm going to go ahead and take 1/2 of 8 is going to be 4. So this gives me 4 times y is equal to 48. And so the question here is, how am I going to calculate this problem? And the best way to calculate this is to use algebra and to take 4 times y, the opposite of that, if I set up my sides is divided by y using divided by 4 using a fraction bar, I've got a 4 in the numerator and a 4 in the denominator, which makes one whole. So I'm left with 1 whole y. On the other side, I have to divide by 4 as well. Here, 4 goes into 4 one time, and 4 goes into 8 2 times, and my answer is 12 inches. Remember that in this assignment, you want to get to 70. For a challenge, you're going all the way to 100.